Okay, so let's move on to topic 8.5. We just finished 8.4 and 8.3, which was population ecology. So moving on up, we're going to be talking about community ecology. First thing we got to do here is define a community. You guys might remember this from freshman year. I have some pictures of some communities up here on this slide. I have an underwater community to the right. This is a reef community. You can see many different species of fish inhabit this area. To the left, you have some grasslands, some savanna in Africa, and you have some wildebeest, some zebras, probably some carnivores out there, some top-level predators. I'm not showing this picture, obviously. Okay, so first thing we got to do is come up with a definition for community. Again, this is something you've probably seen before. Something you might remember from freshman year: a community is an interacting group of various different species. Remember when we talked about a population was a group of individuals of the same species. You in your classroom or in your household are a population of humans. A community is an interacting group of various different species. So you can have many different species living in your house, maybe dogs, cats, roaches, you never know. All sorts of different species living in your house. Biodiversity. This is another key term I would like you to write off to the left side of your page there and describe. This is simply the variety of life in a particular ecosystem, biome, biosphere. It can really go at any level. But when you're talking about biodiversity, you're talking about how diverse an area is. And of course, we're talking about community ecology, so we're going to be talking about the community ecosystem level. Okay, another term, species richness. Species richness. No, it's not related to how rich each species is. It is the number of different species present in a community. So if you look down to the bottom here, I have 3 different communities. One, let me label them down here. That might make it a little bit easier. This is community 1. Here's community 2. And here's community 3. So the number of different species present in a community. Well, we could calculate that in a bit, and we are indeed going to. Let's move on to relative abundance. The number of individuals present in each species population out of the total number of individuals. In other words, the number of individuals in a species out of the total, part out of total. This is a percentage. And we are going to find this for each species here. I have 3 species, if you'll notice. The blue circle species, the orange triangle species, and the square green species. Let's go ahead and calculate species richness. I'm going to let you pause the video and kind of try and do this on your own. But what is the species richness for communities 1, 2, and 3? Go ahead and pause it and try and figure it out for yourself, and then I'll come back and clear that up. Okay, hopefully you're back. So community 1, this community down here, the number of different species present. If you put for this, the number of different species present is 3. You are correct. Okay, let's move on to community 2. If we're talking about species richness, how many different types of species do we have in here? How many different species? This one is also 3. This one is also 3. Let's look at community 3 over here. How many different species do we have in this community? Well, I only see green squares, right? I have 3 different species in this first box. I have green square, blue circle, and orange triangle. In this box, the same. I have all 3 of those species in this box. In the final box, I just have the green squares, so the species richness number for this community would be 1. Okay, let's talk about relative abundance now. The number of individuals present in each species population out of the total number of individuals. So, for community 1, I'll tell you what, we're going to look at the blue circle species. We'll look at these one species at a time. So, how many individuals are present here that are blue circles? Well, I'm going to give you a second to pause and count that up, and go ahead and tell me how many individuals you see that are blue circles. Okay, go ahead and come back. There, if you put down 4, you were able to count to 4. Congratulations. Now, when we're talking about relative abundance, we need to know out of the total. Out of the total. So how many individuals do we have total here? Well, if you count each one of these one time, you should come up with 4 out of 10, right? 4 out of 10. So the relative abundance of the blue circle species is 4 out of 10. Of course, you can reduce that if you want. If you're neurotic like I am here, we'll put this to 2/5. 2/5. There we go. So the relative abundance of the blue circle is 2/5. You can calculate this relative abundance for each of these other species, but I'm just going to focus on that blue circle species for the purposes of this video. All right, community 2. Let's look over here, and I'm going to just erase this so it doesn't confuse you later. Figure out how to erase. There, I did it. What do you know? Okay, community 2. Why don't we do the blue circle again? Here we are. Blue circle. We have a blue circle species. So go ahead and pause the video and calculate the relative abundance of this species. I will go ahead and give you some time to do that. Okay, you should be back. You should have come up with 1 out of 10. I have the same number of individuals here. So the relative abundance of this blue species is much lower in community 2 than it is in community 1. 2/5 of these individuals are blue. Only 1/10 are blue in this second example here. So community 3, I don't have any blue individuals anymore. I don't have any blue individuals. All I have is green squares. So go ahead and pause the video, and I think you know where this is going. I want you to calculate the relative abundance of these green squares. Go ahead and count those. All right, you should be back. You should have come up with, which I think is pretty obvious, 10 out of how many total individuals? 10. This is going to give you a relative abundance of 1. Not a very diverse area, would you agree? There's only 1 species that lives in this area. Okay, on the next video, I am going to talk about a new formula, the Simpsons Diversity Index. So I will see you then. Thanks for watching.